Greetings everyone and welcome back to Smartwatch Tics. We are going to do a detailed full review of the FINOW X1 smartwatch phone. You're looking at it right here. It's a beautiful piece of engineering actually. We have done an unboxing video on this already, and we did a quick overview of the watch so you could see what's inside as far as the apps go. For those of you who want to go deeper, that's what we're going to do today. First of all, I'd like you to note that you are looking at a watch face you will not find on this watch when you purchase it. But I did verify we can indeed install watch faces directly into the X1. And this is one of the newest ones. In fact, this is revolutionary. All the clock faces you'll see have a smooth moving second hand. This one, as you can see, is ticking. It's jumping second by second. A lot of interesting ingenuity went into this, and a hat tip to Andrew Sommer, who put this thing together with the XDA developers and has released it for us to play with. We're going to look at the clock faces at the very end, best of the best, installed on this watch. So stick with me to the end if you're interested in that. So let's begin. A couple of features I didn't cover in the last video I want to highlight is the fact that you can slide up from the bottom of the watch, he says without it working. There we go. And you get an information panel that lets you turn on and off the tethering to your phone, toggle Bluetooth and toggle Wi-Fi, and it shows you your battery percent and the date. Okay? Simple thing to do if your thumb's not sticky. When you press the side button and hold it, you get the information panel that includes the turn off or shutdown button in the middle. The top buttons are for activating your volume or silence mode, and they just simply toggle back and forth. It's in silent mode or it's in normal. The button on the left is the hand button that tells you that your Conspire screen is active. In modern English, that means your wrist flip will allow the watch to turn on for a few seconds so you can see the time. This is your battery savings mode. And these are the different levels of brightness that you can set for the watch, which is currently overridden by another app that I've installed called Display Brightness, but it is there in your default stock watch. And of course, the center button would turn the power off. Okay, are we good to go? One thing I want to point out, it's a one-button watch, right? And that button is used a lot for a lot of different things. So you see this little floating dot here? This is another app that I've installed. It does not come stock with the watch, but it does let you tap it and do different things like lock the phone, which turns it off completely. You do have to press it to turn it on, but once it's on, if you're someplace else and you want to come back, you just simply press here and go home, and you can come right back to home without having to press the buttons and do the swiping and stuff. It's a nice little addition. So although I told you we're going to do a complete review of the stock watch, I have already introduced you to some things you're probably going to want to add to your watch down the road. Let's begin. When you slide over to the left, you get your notification center. Now, this is a standalone smartphone, right? It's not really a tethering watch. Folks, I'm sorry, but with this, you're not going to be able to place calls and answer calls through your smartphone. You can do that if you put a SIM card in, but you're not going to be able to do that from your wrist like you can with the tethering watches. This is a full Android watch, and I think once you see everything you can do with this watch, this is your choice, or you're going to have two watches, a tethering watch on your right arm and this on your left, or two of them on your right, or whatever your wearing style is. But here you have your notifications for things that are going on, like there's no SIM card, and these are the different apps that I've installed. And if anything needs updating, it'll tell you that. And if you do have it tethered to your watch, you will get notifications of a limited sense on your messaging and on your phone calls, but you're not going to be able to answer them directly from your wrist. It's not that kind of a watch. All right, that said, we can slide back to the time. Slide over again and we get into the music player. So if you've installed music on the little internal SD card, there is no separate SD card, but there is memory, you can play a song. And I'm not going to play much of it because I don't want Google picking it up and putting an ad on my stuff, because I played copyright music. But just be it known that it does play music, and you can go back and forth and you can make your selections by pressing down here and scroll through whatever music you've got installed and play it. You can adjust the volume right here, right straight from the watch. And you can scoot through the song. So it's a relatively useful music player, all in all. It appears that it just alphabetizes your songs, even though I have my albums in there in separate albums. You can see that the songs are all alphabetized. And that's kind of a bit of a challenge. You hear that? That's my notification of a voicemail coming in on all of my different devices, phones, tablets, computer. And if I install it here, it would come in on here as well. The app, I don't have it installed, but hey, since it happened and interrupted everything, let's talk about it. It's called Youmail, Youmail. It's a voicemail replacement, and I really recommend that. If you have Youmail installed, it will notify you when somebody has left a voice message in all your devices, and from any device you can pick that up and listen to it right from your watch. So there's a first, quote, tethering thing you could do. By the way, you wouldn't even need to be tethered to your phone. You could just be in a Wi-Fi zone somewhere, go into Youmail, and listen to voice messages left for you on your cell phone number. I really like that. Haven't put it in here yet, though. Too busy with playing with all the other good stuff. So I don't know, we'll just go back. Oh. Not too bad a speaker, pretty good bass coming out of it. That's the music. You go to the right again. Are you going to hang on me? Okay, I guess I'm in the music player, so I have to swipe down to get back to the tab. And now you're in your health. You have two things. They're fairly limited. You can do heart rate with the pulse monitor on the back. If we have time later, I'll strap it on and do all that. You've seen that in other videos. Nothing new, except I probably got not high blood pressure, I hope, but high pulse rate because I'm talking to you guys. Anyway, you get your heart rate. The pedometer I will show you because it's a little bit different. It is always on tracking as you walk with the watch. But you can actually turn on an interval pedometer with it, where you can say start, and then you can start doing your jog or whatever you're doing. It calculates your time, your steps, and gives you your kilometers, I guess, computed from your steps. There isn't any place I see to put in your stride and your weight and all of the other stuff to figure out BMI and calories burned. Those kinds of things that you'd normally have. However, it does give you your steps. Another drawback on this watch and on all the others that run the same basic type of software is that neither the pedometer nor the heart rate monitor data is transferable to any other app. So if you're running a fitness app and you expect that your heart rate will transfer over, you're not going to get that to happen. It's not a limitation of the X1 or the D5 or the K8 Mini, all of which are similar in form and fit for this kind of a watch. Nor is it unique to the K18 or the K9 or the X2 or the X3 or any of the same class that use this system. It's built into the mother firmware of the whole system, and they're not transferable. So that's something that comes with a limitation of these kind of watches in the health arena. If you're really into health, you may want to get yourself instead a health band that does all those things. Now, with that said, when you get into the apps, you could go in and install an Android app that Bluetooths to, let's say, a strap that you wear that gives you your live pulse rate. And it could even talk to you about speeding up or slowing down, the kind of things that Android apps can do. This is a watch that can do that. You're just not going to get it with the built-in things. They're too limited. So let go of that. The last tab in the sequence across the top you see up there is the weather app. I'm talking to you from the United States of America right now, where I understand from a lot of input that the weather app does not work. It does not synchronize in the USA. Again, that's for all platforms. The first vendor to figure out and tweak the firmware in their watch that opens up the connection to the server that feeds the weather so we can get weather is going to be a valuable company to enhance the watch. There are different places in the world that the weather works fine, and unfortunately doesn't work here, but if it did, I could tap on it. I guess it's syncing right now, and you could go in and you could see forecasts and all sorts of other stuff. But we don't have that capability, unfortunately, here, so I can't show you the weather. That's at the front level of the watch, all these different tabs. When you're on the clock face and you touch, that's when you get into all of your other applications. And these show up. I got a persistent voice message coming in. All right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a break and come back and do these for you and see who's calling. I hope they don't have a broken watch. All right, I'll be right back. All righty, I'm back. Let's dig in. We have got the apps that come with the watch appearing first in the list, and then all the ones I've added go after that. So let's look at the stock apps. Of course, the first one, after all, it's a phone as a watch, right, is the phone. When you tap it, you get your typical panel, which is for putting in phone numbers. And there's 2 dots at the top, so you can slide over to the right. And there's your calls. So if you have any calls that have been made, they're going to show up in your call list. And back this way is your dialing pad. So you put in whatever numbers you want to dial, hit the dial button, and it'll go about dialing those. No mobile network available because I don't have a SIM card in here. If you do, straightforward. Swipe down to go back, right? Messaging, similar in that this is the stock SMS text messaging. I have no conversations, but I could add people, numbers, send the text, send it off. Very straightforward. There's some information here for doing your settings and making attachments. Again, this is presuming that you're using this with a SIM card. All right. And then contacts is where you would import all of your various contacts. And they're coming up, but you don't need to see my contacts. These I've pulled in directly from Google. So if you have your contacts in Google, they will be ported over here. Because remember, I don't have any kind of a network in here for doing phone calls. I'm going to try to dim this down and make the contrast a little bit better for you. How about that? You see I'm sliding on the side of the screen? Wow. And I've got triple clicks happening. Lots of stuff going on there. Don't worry about it. Anyway, those are apps that we have installed. I dimmed it down so you can see a little bit better on the screen as we go into settings. We did a walkthrough on settings before, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that right now. We'll come back and take a look at this, but let's take a look at the other apps first. Well, we're still in settings, okay. The health, when you click here, it takes you to exactly the same place you were when you swiped across before. So you really don't even need to go into the health app. You can get to that from the clock screen by just swiping. Okay. App Store is a specialized app store that they've created for these watches with, I believe, the intent in the future to populate it with some apps that are designed to work with the watch. Unfortunately, they only have a couple of them in there, and they don't even seem to be loading right now. This is served out of China, so I don't know that we have good connectivity all around the globe for that. You'll find 2 or 3 of them in there. They're the same ones in all these different watch formats. So if you want to play with them, you can. I think some of them are only in Chinese, so it makes it a little bit of a challenge. Alarms is where you can basically set your alarms. Pretty straightforward. Let's see if I can brighten that a little more. No, that washes it out, doesn't it? Okay, about right there. Straightforward alarm. It's got a couple preset ones and you can add to it. The barometer is tied to the weather, and so when I put this in here, I can't get a good barometric pressure reading in my locale because you have to have the weather information as well. So it just kind of spins, but it's kind of cute. And I've seen other videos, and all you get is basically a red needle that goes up to a location. Barometric pressure can be used over time to predict whether or not you're going to have sunny days or cloudy days. So a single individual reading doesn't tell you a whole lot. It's not giving you altitude, it's giving you barometric pressure. So unless you know how to use it, it's probably not too useful. Weather, again, takes you to what we saw before, where we have no weather information. I'm going to use this now to go back. See how fast I can do that? Browser is the basic built-in browser that comes with the watch, and it's okay. It's really small. Most of what you see in here is really tiny. I much prefer a different browser, the Apis browser, not the Turbo, but the basic Apis browser. And you'll see that I go through the list. If you use that one, you can have thumbnails that you can press for home screens of specific places you'd like to go. It makes life a lot easier in this round watch format. But you do get this basic browser here. And your calendar is very limited. It just shows you basically a calendar like this. You can't do much with it. It doesn't really go into setting up appointments and things. I can't click and get into a date. I can slide it up and down, I guess, is how you change months. So if you want a quick look at the months, you've got that. Now, if you would like to install the Google Calendar, for example, this one will override the Google Calendar. So what you have to do is use the settings process to go in and disable this calendar first, and then you'll be able to install the Google Calendar and it will work. Downloads is a place where I presume you can download items. Nowadays, we're all connecting with our computer via either Wi-Fi with AirDroid or USB direct, and working with moving files back and forth. But this is your downloads area in case you're downloading things, and it says, where do you save them? File Manager is valuable. This tells you how much space you've used. I have about 2 gigabytes of the original 4 gigabytes available, and I've used half of it right now with music and apps, basically. But I still have a whole gigabyte left to do things with. And when you tap on it, you get the listing of all of your different folders that you have installed, including a couple that I want to point out to you. One of them is App Backup and Restore. When you install that app, it will back up all of the APKs, the installation files, into this folder, and you can use those from here to reinstall them into your watch if you want to. Obviously, you'll have more apps than you can put on your watch. So if you have all of them in here and you decide to use some in one situation and put different ones in for different situations, you can uninstall and reinstall without having to go to the Play Store and without having to be online. So this is all part of the App Backup and Restore. And then you're going to see another folder here called Clock Skin. This is the one that we create where we put in folders that contain the digital code and the pictures to create these really cool clock skins. Okay? There's whole videos on that. There's training videos on how to do clock skins, and there's pictures of clock skins that other developers have done, and this is where it goes. It's a folder exactly like that with a capital C and an S, and it's available to get into from the file manager. Okay, music takes you back to the same music we got to by sliding our fingers. Well, I guess it takes you a little bit deeper. It takes you into the actual music selection. Oh, and then it plays it from there. Then it brings up that screen. Okay. Back, takes you to there. Back, takes you to the music app. Play Store we're all familiar with. This is how we get all of our apps downloaded. Sound recorder is a simple little sound recorder. It doesn't do much. You just press the button and you start talking or recording music or whatever's going on around you, and then you can play it back. It's simple as that. We can save it and go to the recording list and play it.
Press the button and you start talking or recording music or whatever's going on around you, and then you can play it back.
I hope you can hear it over the sound of rain. It just started raining outside. We're just going to work with the environment today. It's giving us great gifts. Voice search is tied in with Google, right? So we tap this and it should bring up, what time is it in New York City? You get your basic Google interface, okay, with strictly by the voice search. You can also install the actual Google app, which I've done, which is a little more straightforward. And you can use a couple of other apps. So you can use the OK Google, hello, or whatever phrase you'd like to wake up the watch and work from there. The last one of the stock apps that comes with this watch is called Watch Helper. This is the one that's going to give you the connectivity to your phone so you can do some things back and forth with your phone. You can connect by Bluetooth, which is really cool. If your phone and your carrier support Bluetooth tethering, it's really the way to go. Because if you're tethered by Bluetooth to your phone, then you can actually do a lot of the things that you would do if you were connected to a Wi-Fi hotspot, but you can relay it through your phone. That's a little more advanced. This is probably just your basic connection for sending notifications to your watch. It has some options for you, if it'll scroll, to vibrate when messages arrive. We looked at this one in the other video. So when you get yours, you can play with these settings along with the app that you'll be downloading using that barcode. Can you do that? Get a barcode off of the screen on YouTube and go to that site and see what it is? Well, I'll put a link to it down in the bottom of the description on the channel on this video, so you can go to it and see what it's about. Download it to your phone. All right. Those are the basic apps that come installed with the FINOW X1 smartwatch phone. However, there are others I would recommend to you. I'm just going to run through them quickly for a highlight. You can download them if you're interested. MobiZen Mirroring is the app that lets you control the watch from a PC or Mac remotely. I use it extensively. It's one of the first things I install because you can get to the corners and you can do it all with your mouse or your finger if it's a touch computer, and be much more efficient in getting all these apps loaded in. We talked about app backup and restore, where you want to go in and back up all of the apps that you have installed on your device simply by clicking in this lower corner down here. There's one that wasn't backed up. Well, let's back it up then. I installed AirDroid. Oh, that was quick, and it's finished. And you have all your scrollable list, and you can go to your archived and reinstall them back again. If you don't want to use the file manager, you can go directly that way. Assistive Touch is this little thing you see me touching here that lets me do all sorts of things like going home or locking or going into favorites where I have certain apps that I use a lot that I can tap on directly. And I can go into the settings and adjust the volume directly here, or turn on and off certain things. Airplane and flashlight don't work, but I can do Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and your location. All of those things work. Okay? And of course, go back home again. Gesture search is a very valuable way of just drawing on the screen to search through everything installed on your phone, all of your apps, as well as certain system settings that you can't get to in any other way. So you might want to install this because you're going to need it, along with settings search. Those two are very valuable. Display brightness is what I use to control the screen on the right-hand side. Most of these I've reviewed in other videos, so I'm just showing them to you. This particular red folder file manager is really good because it lets you do cloud uploads and downloads with your watch. You can back up stuff from your watch to your Dropbox account or your Google Drive, those kind of things. AirDroid's something we can use for Wi-Fi moving files back and forth. Great way to put the clock faces onto your watch remotely without having to plug it in. App Cache Cleaner is a little utility that you can set for every 6 minutes or every hour or once a day that will clean the cache in the background. Not so much important on a phone, but on this tiny little watch, you don't have a lot of memory. So if you're streaming music, for example, you may need to clean your cache more regularly. Message Ease is a keyboard that I use, so it's installed. Open Mic Plus is the one that ties in with Google and lets you just say, "Okay, Google," even when your watch is off. Or if you want to, you can change the phrase to anything you like. "Wake up, watch," and it'll do that. And take you right into the Google, typical "Okay, Google" thing. Speech to clipboard, similar to Open Mic, but it doesn't go to Google. It just lets you tap and say a phrase like "open calculator" or whatever, and it'll go real quickly there. At Voice and Balto Speed Reading, you're going to watch the next video series I'm putting out on productivity to learn what they do. I won't go into detail now, other than to say they're for productivity, for actually using this thing to read news articles or documents or have them read to you aloud. The Apis browser is what I suggest to put in place of the stock browser. Webcams is kind of fun. Lets you look at things like Abbey Road and who's making fools of themselves crossing the street, or New York City, Times Square. Live, if you've got a good Wi-Fi connection, you get a nice picture on here and you can see all of that. Django is my choice of radio streaming because they haven't gotten commercial friendly. You don't get very many ads on it, and it's a good music mix. Stitcher is a audio streaming source for news and other places that you want to listen to things. TuneIn Radio is your replacement for this thing not having an FM radio built into it. That was always a gimmick. You'd need to plug in a headphone to get an antenna and stick it in your ear just to tune radio stations in your area. Well, TuneIn Radio is an app over Wi-Fi or 3G or whatever your connection is that'll stream many, many radio stations all across the planet, and probably several in your local area, directly to your watch, and it works well. Keep is the Google Keep application. We've reviewed that. And Note, Squarespace Note. Both of those are valuable for keeping track of notes as you're doing your things. Shut app is the one that I use to close down all open apps in the background and kind of wipe the slate clean. It's deeper than that cache cleaner. It really closes all open apps. And then, of course, just for fun, the little ghost detector. So when you're out and about, not sure what's around you, you can always check and see if there's any ghosts lingering. And oh, got one right behind me. Oh, he ran away. Look at that. All righty. All of this is possible and capable. Yes, I really want to quit. With the FINOW X1 smartwatch phone. The location to find out more about this from this new company, FINOW, F-I-N-O-W, is FINOWatch, FINOWATCH.com, FINOWatch.com. They also have a storefront on AliExpress, I believe. I'll have a link to that in the bottom of this video as well. Okay, what else should you know about this watch? Well, let's talk about the bands. The bands are a really nice leather band. They seem sturdy and stock quality. They probably won't wear out for a while. They are not replaceable, even though it looks like there's pins in here that you could pull out, and indeed there are. If you try to take them off, you'll pull wires out of the inside of the watch because several of the antennas, the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, the cellular, the GPS, all those kind of antennas are embedded actually in the bands themselves. So big challenge to try to change the bands. The SIM card, if you're going to install one, you have to take the back off with these screws, which we will do in another video, and check out the build quality of the hardware inside the watch. But you'll need to do that in order to get the SIM card in it. It uses a charging dock instead of an actual USB port to plug into, so you got to be careful with that dock. Make sure it doesn't get damaged. It's plastic. There are some places that sell extra ones, and when you're ordering your watch, you may want to check to see if you could pick up an extra spare. One for the office, one for at home. Who knows? It's a good aluminum finish. Little microphone port right there. What else have we got? One button. And I don't know. I basically could tell you that it's one of my favorites. It's the watch I'm going to be using regularly now. It's a really nice watch. It has lots of capability, as you've seen. I got lots of apps installed in it, and the company seems really good. We've had good communication with them, not just me, but several others from the XDA forum. And they're the ones that weed out the good, the bad, and the 50 Shades of Ugly. Because there are mostly ugly out there. And, when you find a vendor that will answer your questions and help with your problems, you're way ahead. So compared to other watches, the fact that the company seems to be brand new and supportive of this, the design is really clean and nice, and the firmware seems to be functional and updatable with over-the-air updates as well. I'd say the FINOW X1 is a watch to consider for your next smartwatch phone. Thanks for watching Smartwatch Ticks. If you haven't subscribed, head on over youtube.com/smartwatchticks. And we've got lots more coming. Including the watch faces. I was going to do that. Well, this video has gotten a little too long, so let me just tease you. But we will do a special to show you the best of the best in terms of clock faces, okay? Lots of interesting ones in here. Let's leave you with this one. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you real soon.